Well, joining us tonight to talk about President Trump's fight against pro-amnesty, open border policies of the radical Dems and his plans to secure the southern border, and the new development with the government of Mexico, which provides a solution negotiated by President Trump's administration and that of Peña Nieto, the president of Mexico. It's an extraordinary agreement and means that that caravan that we are watching at the border with between Guatemala and Mexico is not going to be moving much farther north. Tonight, I'm pleased to say we're joined by Angel Mom, Marianne Mendoza, co-founder of the group Angel Families. Marianne, great to have you with us. And Charlie Hurt, Washington Times opinion editor, Fox Business contributor. Charlie, good to have you with us.
Great to be with you.
Marianne, I have to ask you, what we're hearing right now is a landmark agreement between President Trump and Peña Nieto, the president of Mexico, to resolve these migrant caravans, if you want to call them that, and to resolve it so that these estimated 4,000 people who've just gotten to the northern part of Guatemala, they're not likely to advance much further, according to this deal, with Mexico. What's your reaction?
Oh, bravo. You know, and this is why the American people elected Donald Trump into office, to pull something off like this. We've waited for decades for our gutless senators and congressmen, the Democrats, to step up and do something about illegal aliens invading our country, and they have no interest in doing that. And I'm pretty sure that the majority of Americans are sick and tired of this issue having so much coverage when it's something that could be taken care of. And that is what President Trump is doing for the American people. He's protecting us, and he's stopping this invasion from happening.
And what has he just done to the radical Dems, Charlie, in the midterm elections 19 days away with this? Because they were, and I've got to be clear, they were planning on this caravan getting to our border and creating all sorts of headaches and great video for the left and for all of the radical Dem candidates, many of whom have contributed to our open borders and an immigration system that is, as the president says, the laughing stock of the world.
Yeah, no, it is truly amazing. And of course, not only do you have Democrats who don't even claim so many don't even believe in trying to enforce the borders. You have Republicans who give lip service to it, but have not done what they should have done to fix this problem before now. And I can't help but think that part of the reason that we are at the position we're in right now with Mexico trying to enforce their southern border is because President Trump is so unpredictable, and nobody knows what he's going to do. They're not sure just how far he'll go, and they think there's a good chance that he really might go back and tear up his newly signed
well, I don't think there's any doubt at all. Do you really doubt it?
No, but obviously that would be a pretty huge thing to do, especially after having just finally gotten everybody together to the table and signed. But it's that kind of concern about a guy that is that unpredictable that arrives at a pretty interesting solution like this.
Well, as Charlie says, Marianne, this is a very big deal. It would have been a big deal to tear up that agreement, but it's a huge deal that we have 22, the left, business roundtable, the business establishment of this country have been peddling the nonsense that there were only 11 million illegal immigrants in this country for the past 15 years. We know better because 1 million come into the country, nearly 1 million every year. The Yale MIT study puts it at least 22 million and as many as 30 million, which changes all of the algorithms, all of the extrapolations about the cost and the impact on our society. And by the way, other minority groups in this country as well.
Absolutely. And, it brings to light, too, the percentage of crime that's being committed against Americans by the amount of illegals who are in this country. And I know that the liberals' goal and whoever was funding this caravan, I know their goal was to have this big splash at the midterms and be showing these families being separated again. And, I challenge the media to invite Angel Families down to the border and let's have us all lined out with pictures of our loved ones' headstones And let's see how that, tugs on our fellow Americans' hearts, because
I hope
these families aren't separated forever. They've come willingly, knowing what's going to happen to their families, and we unfortunately have been ripped apart.
I hope the presidents and the members of the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Roundtable, all of the Koch brothers, and all of the Koch brothers network, and folks on Wall Street, Charlie, who have been underwriting the open borders and the destruction of our immigration policies. I hope they are watching as President Trump has turned them upside down and said to the radical Dems and Chuck Schumer and Paul Ryan, basically go to hell. Let me show you what a real leader does. And his administration has pulled it off. Your thoughts as we close out here, Charlie?
Which is exactly why, as we said earlier, even Republicans who pay lip service to it have never actually done anything to fix the problem. But one thing I think people, obviously this is a pretty divisive issue for a lot of people. But one thing that everybody is united about out in the country is the idea that if you prevent a situation where you have to separate children from their parents, that's a good thing.
Charlie Hurt, Marianne Mendoza, thank you both for being here.
Thank you, Lou.